starting off with a live edge slab of walnut, and we drew out an area that we wanted to put a handle on, so that was done with a Sharpie and cut it to about the right size that we were happy with. We took it over to the bench, clamped it down, and attempted, since we don't have a bandsaw at the moment, we attempted to use a little jigsaw, and the blade that was on that one just wasn't sufficient, so we had to make do with what we had on this project. So we used a little bit of a jigsaw, and as you can see, some of it worked, some of it didn't, but then we got a little bit more creative with this project and decided to drill some holes around where the handle were, just to add some stress points, so we could then take a hammer to it and chop off the areas that we were trying to really get a belt sander on and just make it easier on ourselves in the long run. So we went back and forth from a jigsaw to a hammer to a drill until we just got to some areas that were manageable. And then we used a little handsaw to get some areas that were just difficult to reach with the other power tools. And I tell you, when we finally did replace the jigsaw blade with a hardwood blade, it was like cutting butter. The one we had was snapped in half, so we were making do with what we had without running to Lowe's or Home Depot. Finally got this thing to an area where we felt comfortable putting it on the belt sander. It actually started coming together a little bit more. So over to the belt sander. Safety first, goggles on. Big mouthful of sunflower seeds is always helpful. And we just started working the corners to where we got the appearance and kind of highlighted some of the grain that was in the wood. It was a pretty piece of lumber. Obviously adding the dust mask got a little crazy in the garage there. And Austin is coming in and helping with the belt sander a little bit, and he was actually the one that took that thing out of the box, set it up, and got it all working, so he actually knows how to work that thing better than I do. Then we used a bit that was actually the size for a penny. Sometimes at the end of a project I'll glue in a penny, and I just thought that was about the right size for this leather strap hole. We took out the Dremel and kind of softened the edge a little bit and got down inside where the drill bit hadn't gotten all the areas too smooth yet. Then we're flipping back over outside and working the area where the knot was and just getting all the dead rotted areas out so we could throw a stone inlay. You can see here I've got some semi-precious stones and trying to get some different grain sizes, so we put it in a 1.5 inch tube with a 1 inch bit, kind of a homemade rock crusher. You can see Awesome going to town on crushing those semi-precious stones up. And at the end we ended up having two different kind of grit sizes. One was, like you see there, very sandy, and then the other one's a little bit larger in size. I start by throwing the larger size in to fill most of the area. And then I come back in with some of the finer dust type grit size, and it just makes sure that all the small little crevices are filled up, so when you throw your CA glue on top, it's one real nice compacted area. And just kind of smooth it in, pat it down, get it flat until you see a flat enough area where you think it's close to the surface, but if it's a little over, that's fine too. And then we add some CA glue on top of that. And this is the quick dry thin. I just find that with Workman stone, the thin works a little bit better than the medium. And then after I get the glue on, I come back with another layer of that real fine grit. And you'll see when you start putting this in there, it actually soaks it up like sawdust, but you'll notice the color will change. And when it starts to get a little bit whiter, or to the color of the finer grit that you're using, you know that all the glue has been absorbed, and you can stop adding that fine grit. But I just add it until I see that it's done soaking up, and that's usually an indication when it starts to get a little bit whiter on top. Also sure to get multiple camera angles on this one. And then, just after a minute or two, it's nice and hardened, hard as a rock. And then we go to the orbital sander, and we start off with about a 60 grit. Then we went to 100, and then 150, and then 220. I've actually got some flat black that actually go into the thousands. I did use that on this project, I just didn't film it. And the one thing that I will notice about this project is I didn't use the 60 grit long enough to get out those planar marks, and the end product, you can still see those. But to remove those, it just would have been a little bit longer on the 60 grit, and those would have come out. I've done that, a couple dozen times, and it does finally get there without throwing through the planer one more time. I think that's the result of just the planer not being as sharp as it needs to be. But once you get the 60 grit, then like I said, I switched over to 100, and then a 150, then a 220, and then I think it starts off on the 800, and then to into the thousands on the flat blacks. As far as getting that CA glue off, I just go at it from every angle. A little bit more concentration on the edges where the knot meets the wood, or where the stone meets the wood, just to make sure that there's a nice smooth finish all around the knot. And again, you can kind of tell by color. As you get higher in grit, it gets a little bit more difficult to tell. So, a little white over the top, a little wet white shows you the color. And then we were done with the sanding. It was over to putting a little bit of a 50-50 mineral beeswax mixture, and I bought a bottle versus making my own butcher's block stuff. And then when you throw this on and rub it in, you can really see the grain of this wood kind of pop. And I start off by going in circles, then I go both directions to go in the grain to make sure that it good soak. And then one of the other parts that I didn't show off camera is that we did apply about 4 coats after about 4 days, just to make sure that it's all soaked up and into the wood and becomes ready for use. Flip over and get the other side, same process. And again, this mixer really kind of shows the grain of the wood. It's a pretty piece of lumber. Actually, that end part took about 6 coats for that. It really kept soaking it up. There she is. It was a fun project. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Austin and I had a good time turning that live edge slab into something useful. We've got a number of other slabs that we plan on making into just random things. We're thinking about doing a river table, as well as maybe like a river serving platter similar to this one. So thanks again for watching.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content. Leave comments down below for any ideas you have, and thanks for watching.